投资股票你会看财报设停损，但面对你最重要的资产健康，你为什么却在凭感觉赌运气？我是陈志道医师，在诊间我听过太多无奈的早知道。其实预防医学就是一门身体健康的投资学，必要时的吃药是为了保护你的资产，健检是了解健康资产的现况，是为了提前避险，提高未来的获利。从高血压数字的迷失到人生谢幕的优雅停损，我会用最有逻辑的方式帮你拿回身体的主导权，让你的健康资产增值。欢迎收听早知道陈知道，千金难买早知道，健康请听陈知道。
Hey everyone, I'm Joe, everyone's good friend.
And good morning, afternoon, or evening to all the Sip&Talkers out there, no matter what time zone you are in right now. Welcome back to Sip&Talk. I'm Sunny.
Yeah, and we are really excited today because we are bringing you a very special feature. We are getting into Musk's Grand Bet, Part 3. We are calling this one Earthly Foundations, Lunar Ambitions, the Petawatt Gamble's Final Stand.
I have to admit, I am running on this wild mix of total exhaustion and just pure excitement today. My DMs have been absolutely blowing up all week about this.
Yeah.
Oh, completely. You guys are just begging to know. Skipping right past all the grand visions. You just want to know if your Tesla stock is completely doomed amidst all this wild ambition.
Which, that is a totally fair question. And it really grounds us exactly where we need to be today. Because today is not about the dreams, What? Today is about survival. We are looking at this massive $25 to $40 billion check being written for the new TerraFab facility. And we have to ask, is this the golden ticket to an era of abundance, or is this the fuse that blows up the company's financials entirely?
Exactly. So here is the agenda for today's show. We are going to break down this totally sci-fi sounding lunar mass driver.
Which is just wild.
It is, but we will explain the actual physics behind it. Then we're going to look at the brutal, unvarnished financial realities hitting right now in Q1 of 2026.
Yeah.
And finally, we have to talk about the massive geopolitical shifts, specifically this ongoing conflict with Iran that are essentially forcing this move to put AI compute into space.
So get ready, because this is going to be our hardest hitting, most crucial conversation yet. Let's just get right into it.
Okay, so let's unpack this TerraFab situation first, because, transitioning from a grand vision of the future to the harsh, cold reality of a balance sheet is, well, it's incredibly jarring.
Oh, totally jarring.
Why on earth build a massive $25 to $40 billion 2-nanometer fab in Austin, Texas? Just to ground that for you, a 2-nanometer transistor is literally the width of a handful of atoms.
Right.
The manufacturing tolerance is so small that a single speck of dust in the clean room can ruin $1 million of silicon in a second.
Yeah, it's mind-bending. But it comes down to that classic first principles logic we always see applied here.
Right, the vertical integration.
Exactly. The core idea is vertical integration to save money over the long term.
Yeah.
Look at the current market king right now, NVIDIA. Their Blackwell GPUs are absolute beasts. Incredible pieces of engineering.
Oh, unmatched, really?
Yeah, but they're designed to be a Swiss Army knife for cloud computing.
Yeah.
They have all these generic redundancies and broad instruction sets built in.
Because Microsoft and Meta need them to run massive language models, right?
All right, they need to run varied language models, render video, do data analytics, you name it. But if you are just trying to run full self-driving in a car or make the Optimus robot walk across a room, you don't need a Swiss Army knife.
You need a scalpel.
You need a scalpel, exactly.
And that is a crucial distinction. The planned AI5 and AI6 chips are going to be completely stripped down, hyper-optimized for one highly specific task.
Right.
Every single transistor that isn't helping a car navigate traffic or a robot balance its weight is just physically removed from the architecture.
Which makes them incredibly efficient.
Highly efficient, yeah. But there is a massive market bottleneck right now that kind of forces this in-house move. As we sit here in 2026, NVIDIA is matching Apple as TSMC's biggest client.
Wow.
They account for around 13% of TSMC's total revenue, which is completely fueled by the insatiable AI demands of Microsoft and Meta.
And if you are trying to build the physical future, you just cannot afford to wait in line behind Microsoft for your silicon. You have to break free from that bottleneck.
Right, you have to.
But, here is where it gets terrifying for Wall Street. and where I frankly struggle to see the upside right now. The financial danger of this move is staggering.
Oh, it really is.
Building Terafab means taking on $5 to $8 billion in annual depreciation.
Let's explain what that actually means for the listener who isn't like a certified public accountant, because depreciation isn't just an accounting trick, right?
No, not at all.
It directly hits your profitability on paper. You spend $40 billion up front, and then every single year you have to deduct billions from your earnings to account for that factory aging.
Yeah, and capital expenditures, or CapEx, for 2026 are projected to cross the $20 billion mark. That is historic.
It's massive.
And it is pushing the projected Q1 free cash flow down to an estimated negative $4.1 billion.
Negative $4 billion.
Negative $4 billion. And free cash flow is the money left over after you pay for your operations and your CapEx. It's the money that actually proves the business is healthy.
Right, the actual cash in the bank.
Yeah, and when that number goes $4 billion into the red, Wall Street starts sweating bullets. Let me try to put this into perspective for you. Buying your chips from NVIDIA is like taking public transit.
Okay, I like this.
You get to split the insane research, development, and manufacturing costs with the entire world. Meta pays a fare, Microsoft pays a fare, you pay a fare.
Right, and TSMC absorbs the massive cost of actually building the factory.
Exactly. But building Terafab, that is like trying to build your own private interstate highway system from scratch.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and if you only drive a couple of cars on that massive multi-billion-dollar highway, the cost per trip is astronomical. It bankrupts you.
So true.
To make the math work on a private highway, you have to hit massive, unprecedented scale. You need millions of cars on it immediately.
Which naturally leads us to the volume problem, because right now, the car business alone just does not justify a $40 billion fab. So where is that traffic coming from?
The answer is the staggering production goals for the Optimus robot and eventually the space ambitions.
Right.
The corporate claim is that Terafab is entirely necessary because literally no one else on Earth can handle the required volume. We are talking about a stated goal of 100 million Optimus robots a year.
And let's just do the math on that for a second. With each robot requiring multiple distinct processors to handle, vision, balance, logic, that translates to 200 million to 500 million chips annually.
Yeah.
The ultimate goal being pitched to investors is a 1-to-1 human-to-robot ratio globally.
Which is just a mind-bending number to even say out loud. But the real financial play here isn't just selling the hardware.
Yeah,
right?
It's much bigger.
I think people get stuck on the retail price of the robot. The underlying shift is about turning labor from an operating expense into a capital expense.
Oh, that's a huge point.
Think about a traditional car factory.
Yeah.
You pay workers $20, $30 an hour plus benefits forever. It's a constant, endless operating bleed.
Right, month after month. But if you replace those workers with your own robots...
You buy the robot once. That's a capital expense. After that, your labor cost flatlines to the absolute floor. It's just the price of electricity and some light maintenance.
Right.
You are dropping internal manufacturing labor costs to roughly $2 an hour. That is the true economic moat they're trying to dig here.
I hear that, but let me push back on the reality of these numbers for a second, because it feels a bit like financial science fiction.
Fair enough.
Let's look at the actual timeline we are living in right now. By late 2025, they had only manufactured a few hundred Optimus robots.
Yeah, a few hundred.
A few hundred. To jump from that to 100 million, that requires an absolute manufacturing miracle. If they don't hit those millions incredibly fast, this Austin factory is a ticking financial landmine.
It really is.
I have to ask you, the listener, right now, are you comfortable holding a stock that is betting its entire free cash flow on hitting production numbers that have literally never been achieved in human history?
It is the ultimate gut check for an investor. It really is. And you haven't even mentioned the wildest part yet.
Oh.
Because Terafab isn't just churning out terrestrial chips for cars and robots. It's also designed to produce D3 chips.
Ah, yes, the D3s. You have to distinguish these from standard silicon, you guys. These are radiation-hardened, high-efficiency chips built specifically for SpaceX and the XAI orbital data centers.
So why do they need to be radiation hardened? Explain the mechanism there.
Well, when you are operating data centers on Earth, you have the benefit of our planet's magnetic field. It naturally shields our electronics from cosmic rays and solar flares.
Right.
But the moment you put a massive AI server rack up into orbit, that protection is completely gone.
Wow, yeah.
A single burst of solar radiation can literally flip the ones and zeros in standard silicon, causing catastrophic logic errors or just totally frying the chip. So these D3 chips are physically structured at the atomic level to take that radiation punch and keep calculating without skipping a beat.
And this brings us to the petawatt gamble. Look, Earth has limits.
Yeah, we really do.
We have serious thermal limits regarding how much heat we can safely dump into our atmosphere, and we have hard power generation limits. AI data centers are already straining the global electrical grid to the breaking point.
Oh, absolutely.
So the ultimate sci-fi sounding solution being proposed here is to bypass Earth's physical limits entirely. You launch AI satellites, essentially massive orbital data centers, directly from the moon.
Using an electromagnetic railgun, what they are calling a lunar mass driver.
Which just sounds crazy.
Now, I know it sounds like something out of a comic book, but I want to stop and explain the physics here for a second because it actually makes total sense and it gives you a huge aha moment about aerospace economics.
Okay, break it down. Why the moon?
It's all about something called the tyranny of the rocket equation.
The tyranny of the rocket equation.
Yeah. When you launch a chemical rocket from Earth, roughly 90% of the rocket's weight is literally just fuel. And you need that much fuel just to lift the weight of the fuel you need for the rest of the trip. It's wildly inefficient. But the moon has 1/6 the gravity of Earth, and crucially, it has no atmosphere.
That lack of atmosphere is the real cheat code, right?
Exactly. Without an atmosphere, you don't have to deal with aerodynamic drag, and you don't have to deal with the insane heat of friction when you accelerate something to orbital velocity.
Because of that, you don't need giant explosive chemical rockets anymore.
Right.
You can use purely electrical power, generated by solar or nuclear reactors on the lunar surface, to power an electromagnetic track. It just grabs the server payload, violently accelerates it along a rail, and flings it straight into orbit.
It's incredible.
It cuts the deployment costs to less than 1/10 of what an Earth launch costs. You completely eliminate the rocket equation.
It is brilliant on a physics level. It truly is. But again, let's look at the balance sheet here. The capital required to build a lunar mass driver is astronomical.
Oh, undeniably.
Which raises an incredibly important question, one I frankly struggle with. I'm looking at this whole plan, the Austin Fab, the lunar railgun, and it feels like setting money on fire just to avoid standard terrestrial logistics. Why risk bankruptcy to build your own ships in Texas and launch them from a rock in space? What are we missing here?
Well, to understand that, you have to look away from the tech for a second and just look out your window. Look at the sheer chaos on Earth right now.
Yeah, that's fair.
You don't burn $4 billion a quarter in cash just because you think the moon is cool. You do it because you are terrified of what is happening on Earth. The goal is to build a completely closed, independent loop. Silicon, power, compute, and robotics.
Right.
Because the global supply chain isn't just straining anymore, it is actively fracturing.
That is the perfect segue to the geopolitical landscape right now. We really have to talk about the severe conflict happening in the Middle East. We are on day 24, going into day 25 of this active war with Iran.
Yeah.
And the ripple effects are completely disrupting the global economy.
The Strait of Hormuz is closed. That is one of the most vital maritime choke points on the planet. We are talking about millions of barrels of oil suddenly and violently removed from the global market.
And that is causing severe demand destruction, especially over in Asia. I want to clearly connect the dots here for you, so you see exactly how a conflict in the Middle East threatens artificial intelligence.
Please do.
Asian semiconductor foundries, like the massive facilities in Taiwan and South Korea that currently build NVIDIA's chips, they require massive, uninterrupted amounts of power to keep their clean rooms stable and their EUV lithography machines running.
Right, and Taiwan does not have massive domestic energy reserves.
Exactly. They run on imported energy, heavily reliant on liquefied natural gas and oil from the Middle East. When the Strait of Hormuz closes, the energy stops flowing.
Yeah.
When the energy stops, the foundries are forced to power down. When the foundries power down, the global supply of AI compute evaporates almost overnight. The entire system is incredibly fragile.
Just look at the extreme market volatility we saw literally days ago. Trump gave a statement indicating a 5-day reprieve on striking Iranian energy infrastructure.
Right.
He claimed there were productive talks happening behind closed doors.
And the global market reacted violently to just a few words. Oil plunged 11%, dropping back below $100 a barrel, purely based on the psychological relief of a potential de-escalation.
But then the Speaker of Iran's parliament, Ghalibaf, came out and completely denied that any negotiations were taking place whatsoever.
Yeah, he called the statement psychological warfare designed to manipulate the markets.
Meanwhile, you have credible reports that Pakistan is actively trying to mediate behind the scenes, acting as a quiet back channel. It's a high-stakes game of telephone, and the global tech supply chain is just hanging in the balance.
And we cannot ignore the reaction of the neighboring Gulf states either. The UAE and Saudi Arabia are reportedly furious right now.
Oh, absolutely.
They are viewing Iran as public enemy number one, especially after specific threats were made to retaliate by hitting Arab desalination plants and energy grids.
Let's pause on that. Why is a threat to a desalination plant so critical?
Well, if you live in a modern metropolis in the desert, a threat to your water supply isn't just an inconvenience, it is an immediate existential threat.
Right.
Without functioning desalination plants, major Gulf cities run out of drinkable water in a matter of days. A drone strike on a water facility can collapse a society in 72 hours. That level of regional vulnerability has everyone on a knife's edge.
This complete realignment of regional security priorities proves the first principles point of vertical integration better than any spreadsheet ever could.
It absolutely does. When a single drone strike in the Middle East, or a closed strait, or a single diplomatic statement can send the global economy into a total tailspin and threaten the energy supply of your chip manufacturers in Asia, relying on those vulnerable shipping lanes is a massive, unacceptable risk.
Right, for a company trying to build the future.
Exactly.
If you are trying to build the compute infrastructure for the next century, you cannot have your supply chain held hostage by a conflict halfway around the world. Building terafab in Texas, building your own closed-loop ecosystem, is the ultimate doomsday prep for a tech billionaire.
It really is.
It's looking at the geopolitical map and saying, I fundamentally do not trust the global order to remain stable enough to deliver my silicon. So whatever it costs, I will make it myself.
And that paranoia extends to the orbital plans, too. Launching data centers from a rock that doesn't have border disputes or shipping lanes isn't just about cheap electromagnetic launches.
No, not at all.
It is about ultimate, unassailable sovereignty over the physical hardware that runs the artificial intelligence.
But that sovereignty comes with a terrifying $25 billion upfront price tag. It's a race against time and an unforgiving burn rate.
Yeah.
Can you build the private highway, manufacture the hundreds of millions of robotic cars to drive on it, and launch your data centers into orbit before the cash completely dries up?
It's the ultimate high-wire act. And it presents a paradox for investors, you know. If the geopolitical situation worsens, it entirely validates the terafab strategy.
True.
But at the same time, it makes executing the construction even harder due to soaring inflation and energy costs. Conversely, if the Middle East conflict resolves quickly in shipping resumes, investors might heavily punish the company for spending tens of billions on a private, redundant supply chain when the global one is working perfectly fine again.
You know, breaking all of this down today, it really makes you rethink what a tech company even is in 2026.
Oh, totally.
It's not just an app. It's not just software. It's heavy industry. It's global energy production. It's literal orbital mechanics.
And it all hinges on that Q1 free cash flow. That negative $4 billion number is going to be the absolute center of gravity for the stock moving forward. The market can tolerate vision, but it cannot tolerate insolvency.
So we have to ask you to ponder this as we wrap up today's chat. We've talked a lot about the risks and the survival aspect of this closed loop. But before we go, chew on this completely different angle.
Okay, let's hear it.
Let's assume this insane gamble actually works. Let's say terafab scales, the robots deploy, and computing power becomes a massive orbital monopoly launched exclusively from the moon.
Okay, I see where you were going with this.
What happens to the rest of the world? What happens to the countries left entirely reliant on earthly, vulnerable power grids and fractured supply chains? Are we looking at the dawn of a beautiful post-scarcity era for all of humanity? Or are we watching the creation of the first true corporate planetary superpower?
Oh, wow.
An entity that controls the silicon, the labor, and the orbital high ground, completely untouchable by terrestrial governments.
That is a chilling and fascinating thought to leave on. The gap between the tech haves and have-nots might soon be measured in orbital velocity. Thank you all so much for joining us for this incredibly vital conversation. Remember to subscribe to Sip&Talk so you never miss an update as this massive, world-altering story continues to unfold.
And before we officially sign off, a very warm shout out to our good friend, Mickey. You absolutely have to check out his YouTube channel, Mickey to Life.
Yes, definitely.
He and his team recently filmed a brand new commercial. The full thing isn't officially out yet, but there is some sneak peek interview footage available on his channel right now, and it looks highly entertaining.
Yeah, it's so good.
Definitely something worth looking forward to, so go support him.
Keep questioning the consensus, keep an eye on those CapEx numbers, and we will catch you next time.